that was funny. We had no clue what time it was. We were just chatting away, doing our thing. We get together, do a pre podcast kind of thing, and we're just like having a good old time. We didn't even care. Anyhow, welcome back, 2023. We weren't here live last week. I had a little hiccups in health, so I wasn't able to be here. So, I'm Hillary in Ontario, Canada.
And I'm Teresa in the beautiful island of Barbados. Welcome to Hot Tea with Pleasure.
Hot tea with pleasure. I got my water and tea today. Okay. We have Nicola in the chat, always keeping it real and hot in the chat for us. And we're hoping to have some people come through tonight and just, ask us some questions and listen in on what we have to say. We're going to talk about some civil actions and some activists, and Black History Month is next month. For us, it's every month because we're black. But, they have taken February as Black History Month. That's next month. But today is Errol Barrow Day, and you probably don't know who Errol Barrow is unless you're from the island of Barbados or some islands in the Caribbean and maybe even England. But he was pretty prominent back in the 80s and 70s and 60s, and so Teresa's going to go into that a little bit later in the show. It was also MLK Day. What?
I'm listening. Go on.
It was also MLK Day in this week, so we are going to be talking about those two things. So over to Teresa in Barbados.
Hello from Teresa in Barbados. How are you tonight, Hillary?
I am alive and breathing.
Good. And good night to Nicola in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, from my intro, we're going to welcome you to Barbados, and it's Happy Errol Barrow Day. Mm-hmm. Yes, that is today. January 21st is his birthday.
It's also one of my best friend's birthday, too. Happy birthday, Michelle. She's the big 5-0 today. Yep. Yeah, it's her birthday. She's nice. 5-0 today. Yep, that's right. Go ahead.
Okay, and later on in the show, because Hillary's going to go first with MLK Day, because more persons will be familiar with Martin Luther King, MLK Day. Mm-hmm. So Hillary's going to go with her piece first, and then I'm going to come after in the show. You will hear more on who he is and the other great Crusaders from Canada, USA, and the Caribbean that had made an impact on the lives of those in the earliest century and have paved the way for us today.
Right. Okay, and you mentioned something. This is kind of what inspired, partly what inspired our talk tonight. You mentioned about your friend seeing a piece.
Yes, there was a piece circulating in social media on WhatsApp, and it was saying that they were looking to take Black history and Black history out of the schools, and I think it was the Native Americans out of the school.
Aboriginal
out of the schools system. So that helped, as Hillary said, helped inspire us to do this. So we have to start educating our children about the past, where we came from, how we got here, persons that paved the way for us, and giving some more of the history that it paved way for them, and they have a better understanding and appreciation for the things that are ahead.
We also have to be, become a little bit more aware and knowledgeable about the Anishinaabe community, as well as, their civil liberties and their civil rights, and, they're still fighting for a lot. And, we have the Reconciliation of 150 Acts. Those are some of the things you can do to get involved and learn more about the Aboriginal community in North America, Turtle Island. So, let's get started with MLK. I'm going to, listen, you guys know how I am with the technical stuff, so don't. Okay? So, let's start with Martin Luther King. That's not Martin Luther King. I see I already did it already. Here we go. Martin Luther King.
Because I'm going to take my pen out and I'm going to drop them some notes.
Yeah, do that.
Well, even for some of the viewers.
Yep. Okay, so he was known, we celebrated the National Day on January 16th, 2023. It's celebrated every year since 2020 when it was proclaimed Martin Luther King Day. He organized marches for blacks, the right to vote, desegregation in the South especially, labor rights, and other basic civil rights. So on August 28th, 1963, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom became the pinnacle of the Dr. King's national and international influence. Now, we all know that Dr. King was a Baptist minister and a social rights activist in the United States in the 50s and the 60s. He led the American civil rights movement and organized a number of peaceful protests as head of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. So, Dr. King, he won a Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. When at the time he was the youngest person to ever have done so. He influenced the world and was an advocate for peace. I mentioned the word peaceful again multiple times, and I'll tell you why later in the show. And his approach to society's biggest problem was using Peace March. He organized a number of marches and protests and was the key figure for the American Civil Rights Movement. He was instrumental in the Memphis Sanction Workers' Strike, the Montgomery bus boycott, and of course, again, the March on Washington. So the holiday celebrating King is often called BLK Day of Service, and is a reflection of legacy and addressing social problems through collective action. Now, we all talk about, I'm going to pull this down for a minute, Martin Luther King, Jr., but we don't really go into other activists that have been had a major effect not only on the civil rights movement but on social justice. I'm going to bring up, Rosa Parks. Now I'll say we all know just as much about Rosa Parks as we do about Martin Luther King. She also was a civil rights leader and refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a segregated bus that led to the Montgomery bus boycott. But let's talk a little bit more about things that we didn't know about her. We didn't know that after that boycott, that she couldn't find work. Eventually she left Montgomery and moved to Detroit along with her mom, and she had to look for a new life and became the Secretary of Receptionist of the United States Rep. John Conyers Congressional Office, and she served on the board of the Planned Parenthood Federation of America. In 1987, with a longtime friend, she founded the Rosa Parks and Raymond Parks Institute to Self-Development. The organization runs Pathways to Freedom bus tour, which introduces young people to the importance of civil rights and the Underground Railroad sites throughout the country. December 1st is the day that is celebrated as Rosa Parks Day in America. They talk about her bravery as a civil rights activist, her contribution, and which was mostly impactful for the movement, and of course her famous refusal to move while on the bus while commuting. Her headstrong persona is an inspiration for all, and the day promotes civil rights, equal rights, and the opportunity for all communities across the country. The event is marked by and arranged by organizations, government leaders, and church figures. On October 24, 2005, Rosa Parks said her goodbye to us all and died at the age of 92. And I'll tell you something that if you think about that was ballsy, to say the least.
One of our viewers was saying, which season was it? Was this season or last? think it was this season.
Mm-hmm.
One of our viewers he was highlighting Rudy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Rudy's in the chat now, but Rudy was saying that he's grateful for Rosa Parks because he was able to sit on the bus, have a seat on the bus.
Okay. And this is the thing, is that we don't really talk about the past too much. We for some reason, people want to forget the past, but I say you have to remember the past in order to not repeat it in the future, right? I'm going to go on to the next civil rights leader, and I think he was more of an activist. And when I saw when Nicolette had showed his name or whatever, I didn't recognize his name, but as soon as I didn't recognize his first name, as soon as I saw the last name, I knew exactly who it was, and I was like, I remember the face, and then it came back. Everything came back. I'll put his picture up now. Okay, this is him right here. So his name is Stokely Carmichael, and he was born actually in the Caribbean in Trinidad, and migrated with his family at the age of 11 years old. He became an activist while attending Howard University, and eventually developed the Black Power movement, first while leading the Student Nonviolence Coordinating Committee, and was one of the original NSCC Freedom Riders of the 1961 under Dana Dash leadership. He became a major voting rights activist in Mississippi and Alabama after being mentored by Ella Baker. Am I saying that right? I can't see.
Baker. Ella Baker.
Is it Baker? Okay.
Yeah, Ella Baker.
Baker. Yeah. The Ella Baker Center of Human Rights is named after a brilliant black hero and civil rights freedom movement who inspired the guided emerging leader. One of the things that he was known for also was the Montgomery boycott. He was there along with Martin Luther King and was next to him. He also co-founded an organization in friendship to raise money to fight against the Jim Crow laws in the Deep South. And he became increasingly hard for him to live in the States, however. He actually became a little bit, he went onto the end. I'll say he went from nonviolence to violence when it came to fighting for civil liberties and civil rights. And it became increasingly hard for him to live in the United States. So he was being hounded by the FBI and CIA, and he started traveling the world as a speaker. He changed his name.
Wow.
Yeah, he changed his name to Kwame, I think, Tori. And he actually lived in Guinea. They actually made him an honorary citizen and lived there for 3 decades, visiting the United States frequently, traveled back and forth, preaching around the world the merits of Pan-Africanism and scientific socialism. And people listened, but not in the numbers that it used to before. He lived a very, very, very simplistic life, communal most of the time, and quaint, and everyone called him very interesting person to speak to. The foremost civil rights warrior died in Guinea in 1998 at the age of 57 from prostate cancer. But what people don't remember, or I should say do and don't remember, is that the phrase Black Power, now people say Black Power at some of the rallies, that's him. He was the original person that actually said that the first time. Now this one is on the Canadian side, and I'm very proud of this one because he actually checks 2 boxes for me, Barbadian and Canadian. So I'll put his picture up. His name is Donald Willard Moore. He was a human rights activist, I can say that. He was born in Lodge Hill, St. Michael. I don't know where that is, but I know it's in St. Michael, in Barbados, on November 2nd, 1891. His parents brought him over to Canada when he was 21 years old, and he actually migrated to the States first, and then he left New York City and came to Montreal. He worked in the Canadian Pacific Railroad as a sleeping car porter. His job was
as a what?
A sleeping car porter. So, yeah, a sleeping car porter. I'm not sure what that is. I'm assuming that is
cargo or something.
Yeah, no, I think he's probably moving luggage around. It looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, and his job brought him to Toronto. So he actually went and enrolled himself into the Dominion Business College and completed courses that allowed him to register for Dentistry program. And he did that in Halifax in 1918. Now, what is so important about him is his stance for immigration for blacks, especially people from Barbados at first, but then it went on to different Caribbean islands. So what was happening back then was that when a person of minority would come to Canada, they were treated differently from the Caucasian community that were coming from European countries. So he actually started together a community together and would work with other community members to establish the Marcus Garvey Universal Negro Improvement Association, as well as the West Indies and Progressive Association and the West Indies Trading Association. So yeah, he's very pinnacle in how immigration is seen today in Canada. Humanitarian organizations' motto was dedication to the promotion of better Canadian citizenship, because his point was there's no difference between a black Canadian and a white Canadian. All Canadians should be considered the same. All immigration rules should be considered the same. And the Canadian discriminatory immigration laws that they have that denied equal immigrant status to non-white British subjects described the impact of those laws and made specific recommendations for that change. So the landmark belief and his relaxation of the immigration laws opened the doors for West Indian nurses and domestics to find employment in Canada. So in 1955, he worked with the government of Jamaica, Barbados, and Canada to enable domestics to gain permanent residence after 1 year of work. In 1965, him and two other members of the Negro Citizenship Association purchased a 12-room house on Cecil Street and converted it into a recreation center for the West Indian community called Davon Vaughan Center. I mean, he's done so much, but it's all in the name of immigration and to get the non-whites the same rights as whites in Canada. I'll read some of his awards because it's very important that I mention them. He has a number of awards. The ones that are more prominent are the City of Toronto Award of Merit in 1982, the Ontario Botanical Medal in 1984, the Harry Jerome Award of Merit in 1984, the Barbados Service Medal in 1986, the Ontario Ministry of Citizenship Award in 1987, the Order of Ontario in 1988, and the Order of Canada in 1990. That's a big award, by the way. He actually died in his sleep. I mean, the guy has done so much for the Caribbeans, for non-blacks in Canada, and when it comes to immigration, he died in his sleep at 102 years old. That's amazing. It's a life. That is beautiful. And then lastly on my list, but obviously not last, but for me, and some person that I find very important because he actually helped with the civil rights movement. His name is John Echohawk Pawnee. He's executive of the Native American Rights Fund. He's the first graduate of the University of New Mexico special program to train Indian lawyers and was a founding member of the American Indian Law Student Association while he was in law school. He's been with the NAFRF since the inception of 1970 and has served as an executive since 1977. He's recognized as one of the 100 most influential lawyers in America. And after he joined the staff in California, the California Indian Legal Service, he joined other lawyers and tribal members to form the Native American Rights Fund in 1970, which was similar to the goals of the National Association of Advance of Colored People, that's the NAACP. Both were based on civil rights activism of minority groups, and the Native American Rights Fund is a nonprofit law firm dedicated to protecting indigenous rights in the U.S. and around the world. He centers his Native American Rights Fund focus around preserving tribes, protecting tribal resources, protecting human rights, ensuring government responsibilities, expanding Indian law, and educating people about Indian issues. Through the group, Echo Hawk has range of civil rights successes from the government recognition and reach the tribal sovereignty, the passage of the Native American Grave Protection, and he embodies the missions to preserve tribal existence, protect tribal natural resources, promote human rights, ensure accountability of the government, and develop the North American law and educate the public about Native American rights, laws, and issues. He served on the boards of the American Indian Resource Institute, the Association of American Indian Affairs, the Indigenous Language Institute, National Resource Defense Council, the National Center of American Indian Enterprise Development, BA, University of New Mexico. Oh man, he is busy. University of New Mexico in 1967 and 1970. Reginald Smith Fellow, 1970 to 1972. The Native American Rights Fund, 1970 to present, and admitted to practice law in Colorado, where he currently still practices law. He is 77 years old and still going. Amazing. Let's go into the Caribbean. I know. I tell you, I'm reading this. I'm like, whoo, Lord, I gotta be tired. But it just goes.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, it just goes to show you, though, how much one person can accomplish when it comes to having the drive and really the passion to help others. So if one person can make such a big movement, imagine when you have multiples of ones, right? So, okay, your turn.
Okay, I will start you off with Errol Barrow. Like I said previously, Errol Barrow Day is today, and a lot of celebrations are going on the radio stations today and throughout media leading up to this day. They were talking a lot about him and his birthday and different things that he accomplished. He too was a civil rights activist and a politician, and and he also fancied being in the kitchen. So for him, like I said, his day is celebrated today. He was born the 21st of January 1920 as Errol Walton Barrow, PCQC. He was a Barbadian statesman. He was the first Prime Minister of Barbados. He was the Prime Minister in 1966 to 1976, and what we call the Father of Independence. We began independence on November 30th. And again, he was Prime Minister in 1986 to 1987. Sadly, it was cut. His term was cut short because that's when he passed away on June 1st of 1987. So he, like I said, he was born into a family of politics and civil activist, and he was from the north in the parish of St. Lucie, and he became a World War II aviator, and he was into a lot of flying. I remember one year I attended an event at the Barbados Small Craft Association, and his pictures were plastered everywhere. There was a lot of activities going on, and he was one of the attractions there.
Yeah, I met him before.
And all kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, I met him before. He was my grandfather's. They had a bunker in the back. He was in the bunker.
He also was a gourmet cook and an author. So he wrote a cookbook, and it's titled "Privilege." I can see it now. "Privileged Cooking in the Caribbean."
Oh, I know. Cuckoo was in there.
Himself and Kendall Lee. On my first, I won't say my first trip out of Barbados, but my first international trip out of Barbados to England.
Okay.
The Lee family that I visited, Errol Barrow. The guy Kendall Lee is the grandfather of Chris Lee. They were friends, and they did a lot of cooking together, and they came up with their cookbook called "Privileged Cooking in the Caribbean."
Right.
So he was a cook. So you men out there, if you can do it, you can.
Is that a hint, Teresa?
Yes. All the guys I know can cook.
Okay. Teresa's called everybody out.
My brothers can cook. Yeah, my brothers can cook well.
Okay.
Roast breadfruit. They say men are the best chefs. So.
Oh, are they? Are they really?
On this side going, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna take your word for it.
Errol Barrow, like I said, he was the Prime Minister of Barbados, and he led the country to accelerate an industrial development and expand the tourist industry.
I'm just posting, sorry. Go on.
That's fine. I did mine while you were speaking.
Okay.
which went on to be a huge part of Barbados' economy. He introduced national health insurance, what we call the NIS, I think what y'all have as Social Security, and he implemented free secondary school education. You're posting to me as well. Free secondary school education for all. He is also known for a quote, and I heard this over and over today on the radio station and on the television show. They did an excerpt on him as well. "We will not regard any great power as necessarily right in a given dispute, unless we are convinced of this. Yet at the same time, will not view the great powers with perennial suspicion merely on account of their size, their wealth, or their nuclear potential." This part is what everyone remembers. "We will be friends of all and satellites of none."
Nice.
So, in other words, he was saying to us, we will communicate with all of you, but in the communication, I don't think you will hold us ransom.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So that is on Errol Barrow. And remember,
today's Errol Barrow Day, right?
Yes, it is. His cookbook, "Privileged Cooking in the Caribbean" with Kendall Lee, can be found on Amazon. You can have it softback or hardback. And it's about, say, $15 US with postage and all that, depending on where you are. Yes, I have one. He has some nice delicacies, what we mainly use, not mainly use, but what we have around Independence Time, like the sweet bread, the sugar cakes, the guava cheese, and the cocoa and flying fish, and there was another one. I think it was steamed pudding. All those things, like the steamed pudding and sauce, what Saturday's main dish. The steamed pudding and what you call steamed pudding and sauce. I don't know if you would eat that, but
You know what
All those nice things you can find inside his book.
You know what I
Go on.
remember him. I remember about him was that people compared him to Martin Luther King in Barbados because of him bringing the country together through politics. I mean, you had the BLP and the DLP, and they can get
I think he was BLP first, and then he went over
yeah.
to the Democratic Labour Party.
I don't know about that, but what I do know is that he was very much, although he was a DLP member, people on both sides of the party on both parties, they both did respect him quite a bit, and he was honored by all Barbadians. So they said he basically brought the country together, and you know, when he spoke, people listened. So that's some of the way that he got compared a lot to Martin Luther King. And oh, Rudy's here. Hi, Rudy. He said he can't stay long. He's busy. Rudy, do you remember anything about Errol Barrow? Because we're talking about Errol Barrow now. Rudy's, he's Barbadian background too. Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I remember about him and his calmness.
Parliament. Yeah.
Yeah, he was very, very calm. And from what I remember, when it came to politics in Barbados, is very, very peaceful. As far as I know, I could be wrong.
Yeah, his demeanor was very calm.
Very calm and very peaceful, and that's why they really compared him to Martin Luther King.
And in 1951, he was a member of the Barbados Labour Party.
Yeah.
So he was Barbados Labour Party first, representing the parish of St. George, and then he went over to the DLP.
Yeah, I know. I just know that I told you he was in my grandpa's bunker. That's all I remember. Him and my grandpa were friends. That's all I remember.
Okay, our next person on the list.
Rudy's always here to support us. So we really thank you, Rudy, for always taking time out of your busy schedule and supporting us. He's our viewer. He's going to be with us in Barbados in July of 2023 this year. He'll be joining us on the as part of the panel. It's going to be interesting.
Claude McKay is our next person up. No, Claude McKay.
Oh, sorry. Wait, hold on, Teresa. I messed up. Hold on. So here's a picture of Errol Barrow for those who are now tuning in, or Hillary has missed her cue. So this is Errol Barrow, and again, you can see why people did compare him to.
That one is. That one is.
What are you talking about? No. I'm saying this is
before you didn't change it as yet. So.
Oh no, you're watching the stream, so you'll see differently than what I'm seeing here. So so the reason why another reason why people said that he looked like Martin Luther King, because you can see they have a very strong resemblance. So anyways, that was Errol Barrow, and go on.
Claude McKay is the next person up. Now, Claude McKay was born Festus Claudius McKay.
This is him right here.
In James Hill, Clarendon, Jamaica, in 1989. Claude McKay, he was an acclaimed writer and poet. And in 1912, the first volume of poems, Songs of Jamaica on Constab Ballads, he was awarded the Silver Medal of the Insight of Jamaica, where they were published. So he too was into his literature.
Ouch. Yeah,
you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
After that he immigrated to the US, where he met up with his mom in 1912 to attend the Tuskegee Institute. And he was shocked by the intense racism he encountered when he arrived in Charleston, South Carolina.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second, Teresa. Rudy just put something in the chat. He said, when it comes to Errol Barrow, I was 6 years old when Barbados gained independence. I think he was the prime minister at the time.
Yeah.
Teresa said yes. Go on. Sorry.
That's fine. Where am I? Okay. When he arrived in Charleston, South Carolina, where many public facilities were segregated, he joined the Harlem Negro Renaissance, where he was the leading writer again. From being a writer and poet in Jamaica, he continued to write his books as he migrated to the US.
Mm-hmm.
He also joined the industrial workers of the world and also became involved with a group of black radicals who were unhappy both with Marcus Garvey nationalism and the middle class reform NAACP. However, together they founded the semi-secret revolutionary organization, the African Blood Brotherhood, in that time. Claudius McKay, he died in 1948 in Chicago and he was buried in New York. I wonder why he died in Chicago and they taken him to New York.
Sorry. Yes, Rudy, you know a little bit of history.
What is Rudy saying?
I think Rudy wants a word for knowing a little bit of history. He said,
"Oh, okay.
LOLC, I know a little history." Yeah, we see that you're coming to the chat not only to give trouble, you know a little bit of history. That's good. Because that's all you're known for is trouble. Yeah, go on.
Okay, the next person up is Richard Moore.
Mm-hmm.
No, Richard Benjamin Moore. Now, if you Google Richard Moore and don't put in the Benjamin, you're going to get Richard Bernard Moore. When I was doing my research on this one, I got a Richard Bernard Moore, but I meant to have Richard Benjamin Moore. And Richard Benjamin Moore, who we're going to focus on, he is a Barbadian and he's also a writer. He was born on August 9th of 1893, and he was born in Barbados. They didn't say exactly which parish he is from. However,
I'm gonna claim St. Michael because it looks like Michael.
Sorry?
I'm gonna claim St. Michael.
You want to tell me St. Michael?
I will claim it. Yep. You know, because we're awesome.
They didn't say
I know, but whatever.
On him, but no. He was a Barbados-born Afro-Caribbean.
Rihanna from St. Michael. Everybody from St. Michael.
Who wrote a prominent socialist. He was also one of the earliest advocates of the terms Afro-American as opposed to Negro or Black.
Okay. Really?
Moore migrated to the U.S. and arrived in New York City on July 4th of 1909.
Ooh.
There he was immediately faced with ethnic discrimination, which it became to employment and educational opportunities, among other things. Wow. Due to the struggle he encountered and observed, he became a strong advocate rights for Afro-Americans. And in 1990, he joined just like our guy before, Claudius McKay.
Mm-hmm.
He joined the African Blood Brotherhood, the ABB.
Okay.
Ask Rudy in the chat for us if he knows about the African Blood Brotherhood, because it seems like this had come up quite a lot when I was doing the research.
Well, he can hear you. He can hear you, so he can hear you.
I don't know if it still exists, but the African Blood Brotherhood.
Don't be that person that's doing, doing pictures on Instagram and have the video turned on.
Do we have a picture of Richard Moore?
Yeah, I'll put a picture up. Mm-hmm. There he is. Continue.
Okay, Richard Moore. In 1935, he became the organizer for the International Labor Defense in the New England Territory, mm-hmm. and he used his position and his organization to speak on behalf of the Scottsboro boys, in a case in which 9 young African American males were accused of raping 2 young European American women. He continued his efforts for equal rights in America and also played a leading role in the Caribbean advocacy groups. In his lifetime, he collected over 15,000 books. I don't think I have read half those books yet. 15,000 books and pamphlets on the African American experience worldwide and featured them in the Frederick Douglass Book Center in Harlem.
Okay.
The collection of books is currently housed in a library that more developed in Barbados. I must check this out at our museum here at the Garrison and see if it's there. Moore died in his homeland of Barbados in 1978 at the age of 85.
Wow. Who's next?
These men were all writers.
That's great.
Poets.
Yep. Poetry keeps you flowing.
I searched and I found a lot of pieces, but they said the same thing, but they were not lengthy on Cyril Briggs. Cyril Briggs was born on May 28, 1888, on the Caribbean island of Nevis. You have St. Kitts and Nevis, the sister island, twin island, they say. And Cyril Briggs was from Nevis. He later became a writer himself, another writer, taking jobs in St. Kitts Daily Express and the St. Christopher's Advertiser. He was recognized for his promise as an aspiring writer. In his later teenage years, Briggs was awarded a scholarship to study journalism at the university, and he migrated to the United States in 1905.
Wow.
Briggs' first American writer job came in 1912 at the Amsterdam News. In 1917, Briggs found the African Blood Brotherhood, there it is again, one of the seminal groups of the African American associations. His goal was to stop lynching and racial discrimination and ensure voting and civil rights for African Americans in the South. Briggs later died October 18th in 1966.
Wow.
Same
years of independence in Barbados.
Yep, he had a month shy of independence here. And that is it from me, from my tour.
So the whole point of, the whole
comparison,
point. Yeah. So that's.
Comparison.
Yeah, go on. Go on.
Comparison with my few, with my four, the comparison of my four, they were all writers. I only had one cook, which was Errol Barrow. But
I think, that's still writing. Still to write a book.
And they were from the Caribbean and they migrated to the U.S. I think either two of yours, were from the Caribbean?
Yep.
One?
Two of them. One was from Trinidad and one was from Barbados.
Carmichael was from Trinidad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
which one was from Barbados?
That was Williard. That was he was the one that did the immigration. No, so what the whole point of us was us showcasing this was to talk about the piece that Teresa spoke about in the beginning of the show, and the importance of children learning their history, the history of yourself, of your culture, of your forefathers, and of your country. How can you do better if you don't know what it is in comparative to do better against? How can you understand leadership if you don't know about leadership within your own culture or country? How can you understand where you are now to not know where you came from or where others around you came from? So history is extremely important, and hiding and shaming or past and not understanding it does not do anything beneficial for our children, but brings up the word shame. And we're not ashamed of our past. They're all lessons that children have the ability to learn and to benefit from when it comes to leadership, when it comes to empowerment, and when it comes to understanding and culture. So to say all that long scripts, that's basically why we did this. Wanted to showcase the Crusaders of the past, and there's so many ones of the present. They're out there fighting for social justice, from human trafficking to abuse to child welfare to humanities. I mean, there's so many different people out there just trying to help all of us do better, understand each other, and live peacefully amongst each other. So let's not get rid of history in the schools, ladies and gentlemen. Let's promote history, because that is the only way we can actually learn. And as Rudy said, hey, see, I know a little bit of history. Even Rudy knows some history, and he learned from it, right? So let's promote that. Let's get out there behind our teachers. And that's another thing, as teachers, oh my God, they're so amazing. Thank you to all those teachers that are out there doing their best to always be mindful of our children and to put our children's welfare as number one priority of the day. Anything else you gotta say, Teresa?
No, you said quite a bit on that, but what I can add to it is in encouraging our teachers or parents and the parents, when we look at the history and where we come from, it also helps our children to have that grounding. When we look at the things that we do in schools, the simple things of the invention of some of the things that we use in school, the invention of some of the, even in our lifestyles, the hair, the makeup, the shoes, the tools and stuff that we use in our daily life. I think we have so many persons that we can look up to for that positive guidance. If we let's just take the time in history. Every subject that we go through in school, there is some person there, I can say it, some black person there, some African American there that invented or has something to do with it. Another way that we can encourage our children to learn more on Black history is through video. There are movies, there are clips. You can do like slideshows and stuff, and you can start this from very young. Because the person that invented the light bulb, you can create stories around that for the preschoolers, for those that are going into the study of electronics. There's so much that we can do to encourage our little ones, or from that age, going through to secondary school. So much we can do in teaching them our history, and so many different ways we can be creative in teaching it so that it's not a boring lesson. Because a lot of children, I find their attention span is so short. We have to find fun ways for them to learn and incorporate different things in our school system, and even at home. I remember when I was in England, some schools didn't teach Black history, or they didn't teach enough of it. And one of my friends, she sent her son to this after school on weekends, on Saturday, sorry, not Sunday, on Saturday, and they taught a lot of, I don't think they call it Black British. They taught a lot of Black British stuff in their African African crafts and activities within the weekend classes.
And but one thing I want to also mention is that in learning about African American or African Caribbean history, also have to learn about the Anishinaabe and Aboriginal people of the Turtle Island of North America.
Oh yes,
because it goes hands in hand. A lot of their people did help slaves escape or hid them in different parts of Florida and throughout different parts of America on their on their brain. But anyways, I use my train of thought. Anyways, my point is that we all can learn about who we are and about this part of Western world and the history of it, and how we can do better by looking at all of these different persons and their contribution to humanity. And this is the part that I think that a lot of us forget, is that we're humanity. At the end of the day, these are individuals fighting for another person to have a right to be back then it was a right to vote, a right to be heard, a right to be seen, understood. And in today's modern world is a right not to be harassed. I think one of our shows we're going to dedicate to understanding the 150 Reconciliation Acts, and talking a little bit. There is this, remember I think I sent you a podcast called Thunder Bay, and it was talking about all of these women and different people, the persons that were of Aboriginal ancestral, that were either disappearing or quote unquote drowning or whatever. But it was a lot of
Thunder Bay.
Yes, Thunder Bay. Yeah, and it it showcased just a small piece of all of different histories that we don't talk about when it comes to the Aboriginal community. And so I want that also to be a part of our conversation, because we have to learn about all of us here in Turtle Island. We have to learn about all of us here in North America and how our history has contributed to where we are now. And what can we do to do better? Because we definitely need to do better. We should not still be having this conversation around race in 2023. There's so many ways that we can do better in regards to that, but with all the capitalistic rules that are in place and all of these barriers and hurdles that are put in place for us to maintain and be crabs in a bucket, we have to do better amongst each other so we can love each other, understand each other, respect each other's rights to be present. So that was a mouthful. Well, we thank you so much for joining us to here to talk a little bit about history, to celebrate Errol Barrow Day in Barbados. Happy Errol Barrow Day, Teresa. What did you guys do down there anyways for Errol Barrow Day?
They just highlight a lot of different things that he was a part of. Sometimes they have, today they had, it wasn't brawl something, but some families, took out the cookbook and they had like little cooking competitions.
Oh,
that he had in his recipes that he had in his book. The radio stations, the media, they were playing a lot of. At first, it was like, is it Independence?
It was that big, huh? It was that big.
Coming through.
It was that big.
A lot of the music that was coming through in the media. A lot of the music that was coming through. It reminded me of Independence. And I said, you know what? Father of Independence. So
yeah. Oh, that's what you guys call him, the father of independence?
Yeah, the father of independence.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow.
When he was in position.
Yeah, happy Errol Barrow Day to all Barbadians and all Bajans around the world. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, when he was in the seat, that's when we were given independence. November 30th, 1966 there. I should have looked for the clip when they had the celebration at the garrison. But that too, every year they show that on TV.
Yeah.
The whole ceremony on TV.
Monday was MLK Day, and we do celebrate it here in Canada, but not as prominent as the United States. I wish that they would realize that the influence and that Martin Luther King did have on Black Canadians. But it's still in progress. We're still trying to get that to be a little bit more celebrated here in Canada. But in the United States, I mean, they even had the unveiling of a new monument with him holding his wife. So it kind of showcase the love, So it's just their arms. It's a very famous picture of her hugging him, and it showcased the ring and him and her. So they have their arms bronze and showcase. It's pretty beautiful. It's interesting to look at.
Oh, I'm seeing it.
You saw it? Okay, yeah. Yeah. So we don't want to we want to mention, that there are many people that were involved in civil rights and civil liberties and still involved with social justice. And there's so many to mention, but we do want to acknowledge that there are people, these are just a few that we thought that people didn't realize what they've done, and we just kind of wanted to showcase how important one person can be to a complete movement. So with that, we want to remind you that you can catch us on RSS and select your favorite podcast listener. We are on all of them. We are also on TikTok. We're going to start doing, I guess, a morning hello to everybody. Our social media person, Nicolette. I don't know. Nicolette, this is going to be interesting. She has this new project where we're supposed to say good morning.
Fabulous job. Yeah.
Let's see how that works out. Yeah, and of course, remember to like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube. We're still marching towards that 100 mark so we can become part of the YouTube community. And on Instagram, please follow us and, share some comments, ask us some questions, and make some show suggestions, and we might consider them. We will consider them. We will be live in Barbados on July 28th of this year. We're still working out all the details, and we will share them as soon as we have everything solidified. Teresa, anything going on for you there in Barbados? I want to say Bim.
Today, we are experiencing, I don't know if we can say it's a cold front.
Yeah, I heard that in Florida too. I'm just going to say right now, Canada thanks you.
It is chilly.
Canada thanks you. We're not getting no snow.
It's not cold.
Yeah,
it's cold. But it's Canada cold, England cold.
Well, all I have to say to you right now is in Ontario, we're not having the kind of snow that we normally have. In fact, I can see my grass.
Really?
Yeah, I can see grass. It was snow for it wouldn't even snow, a flurry for a few seconds, and then it'll melt right away.
No boots.
It's well, for us, the kind of temperature it is. Nah, we need a sweater. -4 is good. -4 is good. So it's not bad. I mean, we're wearing. You can wear a jacket if you want to, but some people wear sweaters. Yesterday, especially, people were out in sweaters. So. Yeah, we're getting fall weather.
Oh, we need to pull out. Some of us are pulling out sweaters when we're coming home.
Yeah.
I
think it's about time for Canada to get a little bit eased in the wintertime. I mean, come on. Normally, we February. That's a really, really bad time of the year for us. And I did the projection. I always look forward to my weather, and it's showing above 0. So. Thank you, Florida and the Caribbean. I don't want to say. What do you call it? What is it? Oh God. Pollution or anything like that. I don't want to give them any kind of credit.
You don't want to say what?
Yeah. I want to say it's pollution, girl. I want to stay from that.
Oh.
So we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave us any comments and ask any questions. Again, I am Hillary here in Ontario, Canada.
And I'm Teresa here in Barbados, chilly Barbados.
But you didn't tell me if you're doing anything, what's going on with your business, I know that your Wednesdays, you do something on Wednesdays.
Yes, every Wednesday is Footsie Therapy Day. Every last Wednesday of the month is full body massages with scrubs. And you are welcome to come on over to Rock Dundas St. James or give me a call at 823-7547. That's 823-7547. Or check out my Instagram handle for services and products that we're offering at Risa__Nicole. That's Risa, RESA__NICOLE. You can check me out there, or you can drop me an email. That email information and telephone number is also on my Instagram page. So anything you see there, you can drop me a line and we can have a conversation.
Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie just joined us. Hi, Stephanie. We're about to head off. We're about to leave you tonight, but thank you for stopping in and joining us. Teresa, one more thing before we go. Nicolette said that we were going to be on, what's the name of that new platform? Wisdom. We're going to be on Wisdom. Yeah, Wisdom app. Yeah, we'll be on the Wisdom app, and we're going to be, sending out some questions and answering some questions on Wisdom. Yeah, thank you, Nicolette. You're on Wisdom. Yeah, so we'll be we'll be on there starting next week, and so ask us any questions, and we will provide the answer. We're going to offer some mentorship as well on there. So again, Hillary in Ontario, Canada, and Teresa in Barbados, thank you for joining Hot Tea with Pleasures, and we will see you next Saturday on YouTube. Bye, Teresa.
Bye, Hillary.
That's fact, taking big swings, put your hand to the bat. Put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag. Cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light. Ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel. I took a red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real. But how's it supposed to feel?